Hey everyone, this is Joe from Gentleman Stationer. I'm back, and as many of you know, I recently took a trip to London in the UK and came home with a couple different things from my travels over there, including these two inks, which are historic inks based on historic ink formulations and that are sold by a calligraphy and art supply shop in London called Cornelissen and Son. I'm probably mispronouncing that, but the two that I picked up there are Sir Isaac Newton ink, which the label says it's a traditional handmade ink formulated to the exact recipe used by Isaac Newton. This ink is completely permanent, as his surviving writings attest. It's unique to this shop. Looking at the ingredients, European blue oak galls, sulfate, gum arabic, and clove oil. So this is an iron gall ink, a traditional calligraphy ink, not safe for fountain pens, but given the historic nature of the formula, I really was interested in it and wanted to give it a try. The other one I picked up was Virginia Woolf Purple, which is a purple ink apparently inspired by the ink formula that Virginia Woolf used. She apparently was known for writing in inexpensive, indelible purple ink. So this recipe is made from blackthorn berries to a historic recipe. And it does say suitable for fountain pens. I played around with this ink for a little bit. I would not put it in a fountain pen if you've picked it up. I've noticed that it has a tendency to coat nibs and leave a slight film on them, but I would not... if you have an inexpensive fountain pen, it might be fine, but I wouldn't necessarily put it in a piston filler or anything like that, because I suspect that since this ink uses organic components, namely berry juice of some sort, it might coat the inside of the mechanism and make your fountain pen sticky and gum it up. But anyway, let's take a look and see what these look like. I'm going to be using a couple of different dip pens to write with these. The main one, I think, is going to be the Drillog, which is the Japanese dip pen. Let's take a look first at the Isaac Newton. So the thing you'll notice first when you open this is, the clove oil covers up the smell of the oak galls, which can have a very earthy scent to it in these types of homemade inks. And it's got kind of a nice clove style smell to it, which I enjoy. Let's take a look and see what this ink looks like on the page. Kind of hard to see. I may have to, oh, there it goes. Use a swatch. So it goes on with a nice light purple gray color. This is Life Noble Note paper, which has kind of a cream texture. But the thing with iron gall ink that you're going to notice is that it will go on with this kind of lightish gray color, but it's going to dry to a much darker shade. So when you write with it, let's see, Cornelissen, that's going to darken up. I mean, you can already see that the swatch is darkening quite well. This is going to be, again, more of an ink that you're going to use for your dip pens. Particularly flex nibs would look very nice with this. And this ink is going to dry to a really nice, vintage style shade. Writing sample. In there. Sir Isaac Newton. And we're going to give that a little bit of time to dry and see how that's going to go. Now, whenever you're writing with inks like these, I'm going to bring my glass of water. Be sure to rinse your nibs really well and clean them off before the ink dries on them. Because I don't know how, I mean, these are, like I said, these are inks made to a historic recipe. there's not really a lot of information out there as to how they're going to react with new materials, namely fountain pen nibs. But, with inexpensive dip nibs, you'll probably be okay. But with something like maybe a Kakamori brass nib or a drill log, just be sure to clean them off. So the next one we're going to look at is the Virginia Woolf ink, which is the purple ink. You know what? I'm going to give this a shake before we test it out. So as you'll see, it'll coat the nib pretty well. Let's see what this one looks like on the page. Now this one I found to be a little bit drier than the Isaac Newton. It doesn't go on as wet. And, honestly, it's not, here it is. It's actually flowing pretty well in that Kakamori nib. But one thing I'm noticing is it is soaking into the page a lot more than the Isaac Newton ink did. And as you can see, I'm getting a little bit of feathering, almost kind of as you would with a marker. The ink is going on the paper kind of like a marker would, which means that it's soaking into the paper fibers, probably binding with them, and that's what gives it that permanence. But, just to take a look here to check and see how dark the Isaac Newton ink is getting as it dries, and it is almost taking on kind of a purple-black shade there. So those are the two Cornelissen inks. I'm going to be playing around with these more in the coming weeks. I'm trying to get into a little bit more of dip nib calligraphy, and I figured it would be fun. I went by this shop on recommendations from a couple of friends who are very much into calligraphy and especially pointed pen work, and they recommended that I pick up a couple of these inks. And so far it's kind of fun to have. Again, I don't know that I would put these in a fountain pen, but if you're looking to play around with dip pens or simply want them for the historic value, they're fun souvenirs. They're not very expensive. I believe I paid around maybe 10 pounds for the bottle, and the bottle will last a while. So anyway, I'll post some pictures up on the social media and the Instagram feed, but thanks for watching.